Yo, hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt. And I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Hey, a reminder to all my YouTubers out there. If you like what you hear, and I know you do, if you like what you see, and I doubly know you do, yes, you do, then all you gotta do is click the subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. Just click it, click it. I love to click it. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. You know that Wyatt shines a bright light on authors, particularly those who are Black, ethnic, and gay, SGL, same gender loving. So today's special guest that I'm tickled pink to have is Mr. Aaron Foley, y'all. He is this acclaimed journalist, author, and speaker, and his brand new book titled Boys Come First is getting rave reviews across the board, y'all. It is like 2 bags of chips and whatever. Anyhow, Mr. Foley's gonna be pulling up to the mic like right now. So without further ado, Wyatt, the Wyatt Show, welcomes Mr. Aaron Foley. Talk at me. How the hell are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. So great to be here. I'm just blown away by some of the response that's been happening so far. So,
yeah, let me tell you, my friend, I love the novel. I love it. I love it. I love it. Boys Come First. It's getting like mucho positive reviews, some rave reviews, and we're going to do a deep dive a little bit later, but give us your 25-word elevator pitch.
The 25-word elevator pitch. 3 Black, gay, best friends living in Detroit, figuring it all out, dating, relationships, jobs, life, parents, money, period. I was trying to count in my head and say it at the same time. I was like, that sounds like 25.
Well, my brother, there's a lot going on, and I love it. Let me use my cheat sheet here, my cheat cards. The Wall Street Journal stated, and I quote, in the dishy funny style of Armistead, Maupin, and Candace, Bushnell, albeit with even more cheerfully raunchy sex. So as I tell my audience, let me tell you something. I love that. I love it. So what say you, Mr. Foley? Talk to me about that, huh?
I thought it was really important that to kind of have, some sexual themes in there, because we don't. So the book centers Black gay men, and their partners and their lovers are also Black gay men, except in one case, there's one that kind of goes with people from all backgrounds. But
Equal opportunity.
I was thinking about, yeah, he's equal opportunity. But I was thinking about like my own personal life and like how the way my friends and I talk in our circles about how we just talk about like the freedom and doing some of these things without shame and prejudice and whatnot. And I felt it was like very important to convey some of that in the book, where you do have a Black gay men with other Black gay men engaging in these adult activities, let's say. So
adult activities, I love it. Yeah, I mean, because that's part of life, right? So why not celebrate it? Why not show it? So yeah, I definitely get that. Before we do a deep dive into Boys Come First, I always like to take my guests down through the corridors of time so that our audience can get your backstory. So, Mr. Foley, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Nuremberg, Germany,
Really?
in a U.S. Army hospital.
Get out.
Yeah, my parents are veterans. They joined the army together, had me along the way. But I was raised primarily in southeastern Michigan, a little bit of Ypsilanti, which is a city 40 miles east of Detroit. Sorry, 40 miles west of Detroit. But majority of my time has been spent in Detroit. I matriculated there, the Motor City, west side of Detroit. In Detroit, if folks who know, you either claim the east side or the west side. Like there's no there's no debate about it. And yeah, went to elementary, middle school, high school out there, went to college in Michigan, and spent my entire life there up until 2 years ago when I moved to New York.
Oh, okay, okay. Let's go back a little bit further. What was Aaron like as a little boy, a little nipper? Tell us 3 characteristics or qualities that best defined you.
I was very bookish. So my mother majored in communication, so she was reading a lot. Anyway, she was very bookish. She had a whole bunch of books. I just grew up around books and whatnot. So I was reading a lot. I was writing a lot. So that's one thing. 2, I was really way too early. I had a grandmother that watched the stories, soap operas.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with The Young and the Restless. I grew up with The Bold and Beautiful. And so everything on CBS really, but those 2 in particular. And so I knew very early on there was something about the storytelling there that was like very like compelling and capturing. So had a penchant for that. So that's number 2. Number 3, I was very like, like you that your teacher is always like, oh, he's so eager to please. He's so like, a joy to have in class and stuff like that. I was kind of like the nice kid.
Yeah.
The one that was like trying to be friends with everybody and just very like, what we would call that sensitive, right? Like I was like the very like, the boy who felt too many feelings sometimes. So
yeah.
That was also me as a child.
Aaron, I can relate to that. And we're definitely kindred spirits where the stories are concerned, because I was an ABC kid. All my children, One Life to Live, General Hospital. And you're right. I knew then that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write, particularly fiction. I've done a lot of nonfiction, but I definitely wanted to zero in on fiction, telling these elaborate stories grounded in truth, but, sort of elaborate and twists and turns and all of that good stuff. So I definitely can relate to that. Did you have any like salient experiences or interesting circumstances in your childhood that helped shape you into the person that you are today?
Oh yeah. Like, I wouldn't say I was bullied per se, but I was definitely like an easy target because I was kind of like the sensitive one, right? Now I did do stereotypically masculine things. When I was little, I liked to play football. I played basketball for a little bit. When I got to high school, I ran track. I was on the varsity team and all that. So I did sports, right?
Sure.
Like, because there's always kind of that marker, like, did you play sports or not? Like, and I was really into cars too. But like, looking back, I realized I had a lot of interests that a lot of little boys back then didn't have. Like, I was reading Archie comic books, like all the
right.
Yes, like X-Men and stuff like that. I never told anybody back home that at that time that I was sitting up watching the stories of my grandmother and stuff like that. And so some of those experiences where it's just like I had like a wide variety of things that stereotypically boys were not, quote unquote, not supposed to do, right? I do think it kind of like impacted like where I am today. I had a very strong interest in pop culture and like knowing who all the actresses are and things like that. And now I just like, like I love revisiting stuff I saw when I was little and revisiting it as an adult and like realizing why I liked it so much. The first a big transient experience I had or sailing experience was a movie I saw way too young, but I still love to this day. Mahogany with Diana Ross. And so like the fashions, the glamour, the drama, all of that. And I saw that movie when I was like 7 or 8, right? And I was like, I couldn't put into words why I liked that movie so much when I was younger, but now I get it. It's just like, you.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what though, man, Aaron, the critics panned it, but it wasn't that bad. I mean,
because it used to like it used to come on in reruns. Like it came on like TV or like HBO or something like that, and like it would just like come on, and like I just thought I thought it was a great movie. Yeah. When I got older and read that people didn't like, I was like, what? People didn't like this?
but really quickly, Tony Perkins just really he was over the top. He really made me laugh. The guy tried to kill her. Did he try to kill her? Yeah, because he was so in love with her. That guy.
That was, and I didn't like. I saw Mahogany before I saw Psycho, and I never connected that it was the same actor until much later.
Right.
You know how there's been a lot of examples where like I saw somebody's like lesser known role before I saw their iconic role, but where I meet them first is how I know them. You know what I'm saying? So like that definitely was one example.
Got it. Let's fast forward to your college days. Talk about that. Any interesting experiences as well, or?
College is where I started coming out to my friends. I was like, I saw college as like my chance to kind of reinvent myself a little bit. In high school, it was a little bit conservative because a lot of people did hide who they were. A lot of people were kind of deep in the closet, and I knew I was like, I spent a couple of years just trying to like pray it away. Why do I feel this way? Why is this? And trying to, just kind of be as butch as I could, right? And then but there was a part of me that was also just like, as soon as I get to college, I'm going to like start to experiment a little bit. So college is, I think, where I kind of came into my own. I was on the student newspaper, like career-wise, I was on the student newspaper. I was doing internships and all of that. So that was kind of on track. But personally, like that's where I made some of my lifelong friends to this day. Really, that's when I started going to the gay clubs and started going to the gay bars and stuff like that. Once you become of age, really like, not being ashamed of like, I listening to like pop music and like the white girls, like Britney Spears and stuff like that. like that was something you did not cop to that in high school, but like I really leaned more into that and started like unabashedly telling people that I liked it. So yeah, college was transformative for me.
We're almost kindred spirits because some of my experiences mirror yours. For example, the whole pop culture thing. I remember always religiously 10 a.m. in the morning, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday morning, Casey Kasem's Countdown. Because I wanted to know all about that stuff. So, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I gotta say, man, gotta tell the audience that your journalism career, is superb. Y'all, this brother has cred with a capital C. So let me go to my cards here. Let me see something here. Okay, here we go. Here's some of your credits. And don't pat yourself, don't break your hand, pat yourself on the back.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. You are the founding director of the Black Media Initiative at CUNY's Newark Graduate School of Journalism. You are a John S. Knight Journalism Fellow at Stanford University in the class of 2020.
Yes.
Chiefs, I like this one, man. Chief storyteller for the city of Detroit, where you oversaw the creation of digital content and video programming. Editor-in-chief of Black Detroit Magazine. So let's zero in on some of that. Tell us about some of that.
Those last couple of ones, that was me trying to try some new things, try some new career directions and whatnot. What grounds me in why I do what I do is two things. One, being Black and being from Detroit and whatnot. The journalism industry does not look like people like me. It is a very white industry. It's a very male, straight industry. We are starting to see inroads in which people from marginalized backgrounds are starting to make some headway, but it's been a long time coming and we're nowhere near parity. But I knew all along, like going back to even college, that I had a duty to kind of tell stories about our community, my community. Right. And so I felt like the best way to get those stories is to, or to make some of these things happen, is to be a product of it and to kind of make some roles in this industry. The other reason I do it is because something I sort of realized like midway through my career is that Black people in general, and there are studies on this, and this is not the stereotype or generalize, but our community is very at risk for misinformation.
Oh my God, yeah.
We are very at risk of fake news and all those types of things. And we need more Black journalists to kind of correct some of this and be, the paragons of like, this is where you get credible, useful information that can help change your life or guide where you should go. So that's sort of like why I'm committed to this. It's incredibly important. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And, regarding the lack of real news, in Black media outlets in the Black community is really, really true because Roland Martin, I was watching one of his podcasts and he was talking about the recent sale of the bankrupt.
The Black news.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And oh gosh, I can't remember. Tell me who bought that.
Byron Allen.
Right. The super wealthy Byron Allen bought it, and he's going to take the assets and roll it into Grio TV. And Roland was saying something like he's hoping that there will really be real news, as a result of it. Because, we have so many reality TV shows and all of this, it's okay. But just like you said, we, the Black community, needs more access to more news.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's, to kind of elaborate on that, the Black News Channel was, when it was first announced, a lot of the industry like praised it and whatnot. And then when it came out, there was a lot of commentary, right? There was a lot of like commentary, opinion, and it was imbalanced. It was starting to feel like, like almost like an MSNBC or Fox News.
Exactly. Where
it's just like, it's mostly somebody talking at you, giving what they think, but it's just like, where's the investigation? Where's the business reporting, the feature reporting, like all of the things that like affect our day-to-day lives. And so I'm excited to see what the next phase of the Black News Channel can be.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Now let's segue into Boys Come First.
Yes.
As an author, y'all, I simply adore it. I've got it on Audible. Oh, want to mention this, I'm a voiceover instructor in talent. So the narrator is right on point. He is absolutely excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, shout out to Jelani Aladdin. He's the narrator. He's an actor by trade, and this was his. I'm honored. This is his first audiobook, and then he's got another one immediately after mine that's about to come out in a couple of weeks. So he's great. I love him.
Great voice. I mean, you could definitely tell he's got acting experience under his belt. But anyway, Boys Come First is engrossing, y'all, from the jump. It grabs you and pulls you right in. It's clever, it's breezy, it's conversational, it's substantive, it's funny. And what's so important to me is it's soapy. I like it. It's soapy. Yeah. I know what I wanted to mention to you. You use complex sentences so well. Everybody, this brother uses complex sentences so well. A lot of people can't do that because they get lost in the forest and they can't pull it together, but you do so well. So again, don't break your hand, pat yourself on the back. So what is the central message, the plot of Boys Come First?
The plot is you have three friends who are of similar age. They're in their early to mid 30s. Mm-hmm. And they are all at these different crossroads that still kind of intersect. One of them, Dominic, he loses his job and he loses his boyfriend on the same day. Nice. So he goes back to move. Yeah, he's living in New York, but he's from Detroit. So he moves back to Detroit to kind of dust himself off and start over. And he links up with his other friend, Troy. He's at his own thing. He's a teacher. He's in a relationship that is not going very well. And he's also kind of surveying Detroit as it changes. Like Detroit right now is, I mean, in real life, it's a majority Black city. Right. But you're starting to see more non-Black people come into the city. And really? What does that mean? Seeing that happen in like Austin, San Francisco, or Brooklyn. Is it gentrification or not? There's still debate over that in real life. I was literally just reading something before I hopped on with you. Someone was calling it not gentrification, and then somebody else will say, well, it is. And so Troy's, in the book, Troy's kind of there too. He's like, I don't know if it's gentrification or not, but what I do know is that rent is going up, and it's a lot of white people where there weren't Black people before. So, exactly. Like, what do you call it? And then there's a third friend. He's one of Troy's friends, but he eventually becomes one of Dominic's friends, is Remy. He is rags to riches. I based him off of every dude I knew in real life, gay or straight, who grew up on the east side of Detroit. One of the hardest neighborhood, one neighborhood within the east side is one of the hardest neighborhoods you can grow up in, because in real life, a lot of the men, there's a lot of single mothers in that neighborhood because the fathers are often in jail. It's a pipeline to prison, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Like the school to prison pipeline very much exists in that neighborhood, and then the fathers there are most at risk of going back to jail after they get out. Yeah. Drugs, crime, shootings, all of that. Right. This is a dude. Remy in the book is a dude who made it out of that. And he still kind of gets called back to it sometimes. Like, he doesn't want to leave his people behind, but at the same time, he's making moves, making money. And in a way, it's kind of emblematic of what's going on in Detroit right now with all these new changes and new developments coming in. And he's kind of got some guilt about that. On the personal side, though, he's messing with two dudes at the same time.
He's busy. All right.
And neither one of them want to commit to him. And boy, do I know. Maybe speaking from experience, we can go there if you want to.
Sure, let's go there. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that real quick. Come on, let's go.
Or just friends that I know. All of them. I was really, quite honestly, trying to go for the waiting to exhale vibe. Like, I was really trying to go for that. If you watch the movie, I love the book. I've read the book back and forth twice. It was one of my mom's favorite books. That's how I got into it. But we've all seen the movie where it's just like they are dealing with a lot. They're dealing with both the personal and the professional. Like their jobs could be better. Savannah, she changed out, you know, it's mentioned that she changed jobs a couple of times looking for her North Star. Robin's got the, you know, she's got the situation. It doesn't happen in my book, but she's got the situation where she starts messing with somebody at her job. And then you get that scene where he's coming at her sideways about something. It's just like, oh no, I'm not dealing with all this. That's what I was trying to go for, was like, how do you, at this juncture in your life where you're trying to balance everything, you're trying to find a good relationship with a good, kind, loving partner. Yeah. And you're also kind of dealing with trying to build yourself professionally, establish a life for yourself. That's kind of, you know, goals you want there. So that's where I was coming from with all this.
That's a lot going on. Oh, wow. Nice.
And then also just being Black and gay on top of all of it. Like, it's one thing to be in your 30s, you know, my white friends in their 30s, my female friends in their 30s, you know, we all kind of hit that, like, okay, what am I going to do next type of phase? Am I going to get married or not? Or am I going to get this promotion or not? But like, they're dealing with their skin, their, you know, their what they reflect to the world. And they're also dealing with their sexuality in terms of like how they carry themselves, how other people perceive them. I think, in my opinion, you know, a lot of Black gay men are very self-conscious about how other people perceive them. They don't want, I know some, I won't say all, but I know some men who are just like, I don't want to be too gay. I don't want to be all this or whatever. And then I know others who are like proud to be that, but they know it kind of limits them sometimes. So the kind of cost of being yourself and being outwardly open and things like that. And so I try to touch on a little bit of that. You can write a whole like series of books, which I don't know if I have the capability to do at this point in my life, but I was trying to touch on a lot of different things that some of these conversations that we're having.
You know, and Aaron, you were quite successful. You were quite successful with that. And, you know, it's boys come first, it's substantive, but it's entertaining as well. And it gives you various messages, you know, without being preachy. So y'all got to get out here and buy Boys Come First. And I believe you're going to grace us with a reading.
Yes, I was going to read a little bit about, this is Dominic's point of view on relationships. So backstory is that Dominic is, again, he's a Black gay man living from Detroit, living in New York, living in Hell's Kitchen, with his longtime boyfriend, Justin, another Black gay man. And they originally met on Black Gay Chat. That's how long their relationship goes back. And then Justin has been cheating on Dominic, and Dominic finds him and the other dude. And he kind of goes into this reflective of, well, did we ever love each other in the first place? So I'll just read a couple of paragraphs. In retrospect, nobody had ever asked Dominic why he loved Justin. In heterosexual relationships, it's undeniable when a man and a woman are in love. They say things at weddings about completion. You complete me. It suggests there's something incomplete about both parties, doesn't it? And it suggests love, the love that enables a person to strive and do better for the recipient of that love, can't catalyze until the two are brought together. When two gay Black men are in a relationship, though, the question isn't about love. It's about work, as in, how do you make it work? Or what works for you? Two Black men together isn't a relationship. It's a strategic partnership. Work is what drives the gay Black relationship because both parties are expected to already be complete upon meeting. It is not, quote, how do you complete me? It is, how do you advance me? It is about work because gay men do not have time to fill each other's holes, the metaphorical holes. The Black gay man's trajectory is always upward. There is never time to slow down. There is no room to fail. And they need partners who can more quickly take them to where they ultimately need to be. And where was that exactly? for Dominic, he knew where he and Justin were trying to get to and all the stuff that they had accumulated along the way. The designer wardrobes, the Sur La Salle and Williams Sonoma Everything Kitchen, the Provincetown trips, and the curated Instagram accounts. But did they ever have true love? Was that ever going to come? Or was it just another thing that they would order from some catalog along the way?
Man, I particularly like that ending. That's deep, y'all. That gives you a hell of a lot to think about. Thank you, Mr. Foley. Now, a question for you. For an author, how important is truth and authenticity? How important is truth and authenticity in writing? I mean, for example, if your fiction novel is set in the 1990s, you've got to do your research to make sure that every detail, every nuance, every bit of it is authentic.
So I base my research on because sometimes research is like being in the library and going through books. Mine was just years and years and years of conversations with other Black gay men, like casual, brunch, nights out, at the club, on the trips, whatever. I have to credit my friend Brandon. So years ago, I was going through a breakup, and my friend Brandon was just like, okay, we're going to get you out of this. Like, you're going to come to New York with me. You're going to come to Manhattan. You're going to meet a couple of my friends out there. We're going to get an Airbnb together, and we're just going to hang out for a couple of nights, go out on the town, go to Harlem, do this. I'm like, cool, whatever. I need to break out of this. And I met a lot of his friends, some of which are still my friends to this day. And just the camaraderie among a bunch of Black gay men who were just talking about like dating and like, girl, we've been seeing each other for 8 months and I don't know what we are and all that type of stuff. And so it was the first time, I won't say it was the first time, but the relationship I was in at that point, I didn't have a lot of Black gay friends because that particular partner was jealous, right? Like we didn't socialize like that. We kept to ourselves and we stayed mostly among our families and some of our mutual friends, which were mostly female and stuff like that. So I hadn't had that I wasn't having those kind of like kikis and sessions like that often when I was in that relationship, and to kind of like be brought back to that where I'm listening to like, oh, it's not just me that's having some of these same issues. It's a lot of people. So I've been on a couple of boys trips, a whole bunch of girls get an Airbnb together in, West Hollywood or something like that. And, just as much as it is about the unwinding and relaxing and drinking and getting brunch and all that type of stuff, it was the conversations. It was literally the conversations about like, damn, is it just me or and
no,
so
it's not just you.
And so just to kind of be surrounded by that, I was just kind of taking mental notes. It wasn't just with Black gay men. I was listening to some of my white gay friends too about kind of the career parts, kind of the relationship and commitment parts as well, in terms of like, it's not just Black gay men who kind of have these struggles with dating and whatnot. I think, just generally speaking, gay men in general, we have a lot of baggage that we don't sometimes. And so that manifests in very different ways. So I was looking too at like listening to some of the more like taboo stories of people I know, friends of friends and stuff like that when it came to some of the substance abuse. I included a character that kind of goes back and forth with substance abuse because like it is a thing that some of our peers do dabble in, if not outright like have a habit or something like that. I wouldn't call it the same as like, now I grew up with real crack addicts in my family. Like I'm talking like out there on the street, but I would never compare it to something like that.
Right.
But you know, you do hear stories, you do actually see people do it, of people who do a little bit of this and a little bit of that just to get by. So I was like, I feel like this is something that has happened specifically of Black gay men recently. It hasn't always been the case, but I feel like I keep hearing it more and more and more. And so I put a little bit of that in there. And then there are some other issues, like kind of specific to Detroit, that that I just knew firsthand. Like I talk about the characters going to specific high schools and hanging out at specific intersections, going to specific restaurants and stuff like that. I mean, that's my life. That's the lives of many of my friends back home. The one thing I tell people is that all Detroiters know, when you first meet somebody from Detroit and you find, and the other person's from Detroit too, it's never like, you know, like, how's your day or anything like that. The first question is either going to be one or two or both. Either are you from the east side or the west side, or what high school did you go to? Okay. So it was really important that like I like those two geographical elements were like very present in the book, because that's just how we are. That's just how Detroiters are.
That's how y'all roll. Okay.
Yeah.
I get you. Well, speaking of Detroit, you're also a nonfiction writer.
Yes.
So tell us about the book that you've written about Detroit. And the title is quite interesting, so I'm going to let you tell it.
I had to remember if it was one of the dirty words I couldn't say.
This time, go ahead. I don't care.
So I wrote, a couple years ago, I wrote a book called, and it was my publisher suggesting to call it that. It's called How to Live in Detroit Without Being a Jackass. And it's a guidebook. I love it. At the time, I was, you know, this book had come out during a time when like Detroit was on its knees. The city had filed for bankruptcy. It was still recovering economically from like, you know, as hard as the recession hit the United States, it hit Detroit like 3 times as harder because we are a majority minority city. Historically, we've been enfranchised just because of who we are. So, and the city was already in major decline for the past 50 years. And so what had happened was a lot of people started moving to Detroit because rent was super cheap and houses were super cheap. You could buy a house for like $5,000. You could buy a house. Yeah. And so all of these people living in like the coast, New York, LA, San Francisco, you know, they're paying like $1 million for a little 3-bedroom or something like that. You can get a whole mansion in Detroit for 50K. So but what was happening was a lot of people were moving to Detroit and not respecting the people that had already lived there, not respecting the city's culture, kind of bringing these like new coastal attitudes to the city. There would be little anecdotal things I would hear about, like, you know, Detroit is still very Midwestern, but it's got a lot of the Southern influence. So when you see an older Black woman, you acknowledge that woman's presence. You just say like, hi, hello, that sort of thing. You get on an elevator, you just do a little head nod or something like that. You acknowledge someone's presence. A lot of these people are coming into Detroit and not doing that, not speaking, not saying a word. Really? And that's very disrespectful.
Carpetbaggers.
Yeah. Like it's
carpetbaggers.
Yeah. And so I wanted to kind of acknowledge all these like micro things and macro things that I saw happening in front of me in terms of like, you know, this is how Detroit is. Like, you know, if you're going to move here, that's fine. The welcome mat is out, but just know there's a certain kind of game. There's a certain kind of protocol. There's a certain kind of behavior here that is not like New York. You know, New York is very go, 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 go. Los Angeles is traffic, traffic, traffic. San Francisco is what, you know, tech. But here in Detroit, like this is a city where everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other's business. We are kind. We are respectful to each other. But also, like, you got to keep it real. Sometimes you do not leave your laptop in the back of the car because you make yourself a target. You do not do some of these things that you can do in other cities because, yes, you will. Your car may get broken into. And so I put all of that into that book. It came out a couple of years ago. A second edition came out.
Wow.
It did really well locally. Like nobody in Ohio is going to read that, but like, but you know, it's one of those things that like, you know, it's become a book that people give to college graduates when they move from outside
Yeah, I
Detroit
can see
into
that.
Detroit, because there's a lot of new jobs out there for them, and to just people in general who are moving to Detroit. But I wrote it as like another love letter to the city that made me.
Oh, that's really nice. I really like that. I have an interesting question I want to pose to you. Let's say, for example, that, I don't know, some magical thing happened and all of a sudden, you know, you could no longer be a literary artist, a literary artiste. What would you do and how would you cope with that? Or maybe you could, or maybe you couldn't.
Maybe, yeah, that is a scary question, because like I have always, that question has always loomed in terms of like, if I wasn't writing, if I wasn't doing journalism, what would I do? And quite honestly, I don't know. I don't know like what I would do. There's a part of me that's like, I want to lean into a different creative side of me. Like, I have lots of friends that work in the service industry, so I always thought like, you know, maybe I could pick up bartending. Like, bartending is like, you know, you meet people, you entertain in a way, and you get to make drinks. I thought of that. I thought about like maybe interior decorating. You know, that maybe that's my backup plan. I hope no, like you need to the full panoramic of my living room, but right now it's kind of a mess. I have you just in frame, but something like that. But quite honestly, that is a very scary question, because I was just like, oh no, what am I going to do? Like, what if I do? Like, what if I break my wrist or something like that, or lose my ability to speak, or I don't know.
Well, Aaron, I don't think I could answer that question either. It is a very scary question. I might do like real estate. That's the only thing that could cut, because I like talking to people and meeting people and trying to sell something to people. But it's a scary ass question, so I totally get it. Okay, now tell us why we should go out and buy Boys Come First.
Because I think I did a good job. No, I'm just playing. Quite honestly, it is a window into. Now, I don't want to say that this is a window into Black gay life, because there are, you know, we contain multitudes. One person's experience in Detroit is not going to be the same as it is in Atlanta, nor is it going to be DC or Dallas or anything like that. But it is a slice of Black gay life. Let's just say that. Like, it's and it's quite honestly, like in literature, there's not a lot of books about Black gay life. There's not a lot of Black gay authors. Everyone always says like James Baldwin, which is great. We all of us as Black gay writers walk in the footsteps of Baldwin. But okay, it's like name 10 more. Very quickly, name 10 more. And it's just like you get Elaine Harris, you get B-Boy Blues, you get more modern authors like Brian Washington and Brandon Taylor and Rashid Newson, whose book is coming out very soon. But when you go into a bookstore period, a lot of the stories are dominated by white authors. A lot of the stories do tend to either be like a white woman in trouble, or a white woman trying to figure herself out, or like an unlikable white male protagonist on some kind of journey. And it's just like, where are the Black stories? I try to, just as much as I try to uplift Black gay authors, I try to uplift Black women authors. Having spoken to many of them, it's the same kind of situation where it's just like I had to fight with my agent, my editor, my publisher, and all these types of things to kind of get this one book out. So I think it's important now, just not for my book, but for uh, other authors kind of in the same boat, where it's just like, you know, our experiences matter. We have stories to tell. This is something I think you can learn from. Black gay people are human. We have emotions. We are not the side character. We're the main character. You know, we are not the comic relief. We are the, you know, we have complexities and things like that. And that's what I was really trying to get to here.
Aaron, let me briefly touch on a lot of what you said. First of all, you did a magnificent job with Boys Come First. Let me quickly segue to Elaine Harris. I will argue that his main audience became women. Now, Invisible Life, the first book, was so gay. It was so gay-centric. But if you notice, because, you know, the story goes that after Invisible Life, his publisher said, you need to tone down the gayness. And when you really think about it and read his subsequent works, in a way, he's kind of toned that down. However, what, you know, that is just my opinion, y'all. You might, you know, you might not agree with it. But you're so right about gay SGL men, black men stories that need to be told, because, you know, with my Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series, you know, when I go to on book tours and what have you, they said, thank God that you're talking about the lives of black gay men. And I totally get it. It's like we can be invisible. It's hard to sell it to a publisher. Sometimes when you get that publisher, he wants to tone it down and take you into a whole new direction that you never wanted to go into. So it is so tough. But when you do break through, like we have done, it is really so rewarding, more so for your audience, because they hunger for this. They're just hungering for it.
Yeah. There's definitely an audience for it. I mean, I see all the time on Twitter where something will go viral where someone's just like, well, where is this? And where is this? And then someone, like, thankfully somebody else will respond like, here's like, I have to shout out like all the tweeters who kind of like continually like curate this list of like every black gay author out there, you know, who are publishing through like independent presses. Like I published through an indie, you know, folks are self-publishing, university press or more traditional like Big Five publisher. But still, like, you can only fit everybody will fit into one tweet. Now, if you ask for like a white female author, it's like you can go on and on and on and on and on. And so there is definitely hunger out there for romance, for friendship, for YA, for mysteries, for thrillers. I've seen an uptick of white male gay authors going into like the thriller mystery category.
Really?
And yeah, and it's just like there's a few of those now. And I'm just like, okay, so now we got to get that too. Like, like I want us to like get every piece of the pie as we can, because like, and I mean, and quite honestly, it's not even about that all the time. It's about the fact that like in one of my group chats, all black gay men, we always talk about like anybody getting good reading suggestions and something like that. And we all read The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. That was amazing. But you know, like that list is very thin too. So I was thinking to myself, it's just like there's for any author out there, for any black gay author out there, there is a need for this. Somebody is out there looking for it.
You're absolutely right. I'll say this in this piece of the conversation. You got to promote your ass off. You have to really promote it, even if you have a publisher. You can't just rely on the publisher to promote it. You have really got to actually create this promotional marketing plan even before you start writing it. And definitely as you continue to write, and you've got to build relationships and alliances, because it can be hard to get your voice heard, to get your book. You know, if you're a Black, gay, SGO author, it can be really difficult to get that exposure that you need.
Absolutely. And it can be very I won't say tiring. It can be overwhelming sometimes. I'm an introvert. Like, I'm like talking about
you don't come across like that.
I'm giving you like the best of me right now. Like, I've had coffee, like but
yes.
But for introverts, sometimes like it's hard to talk about ourselves, right? Like, I've had some similar conversations with other writers where it's just like there are some writers, I don't mind it, but there are some writers out there that hate during the appearance and stuff like that. They're just like, I just want to write this thing, put it out there, and y'all can email me.
Can't do that.
But yeah, I mean, the promotion can be overwhelming sometimes. I get anxiety sometimes. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to read in front of a whole bunch of people. I got to like put myself out there, and I gotta do this. I got to do this. Because you're also kind of betting on yourself. You're also hoping, like, if you tell me, like, you know, like, let me read your book and I give it to you, and you come back later and it's like, not only do you tell me that you hate the book, but then you're going to tell like 10,000 people on Twitter, like, do not read this. That's the other part of it. It's like some people with big platforms, they have like big follow, and the followers actually like follow, like not just follow them, but like listen to their words and heed their advice. And you get that one person, fingers crossed it has not happened to me, but like I've seen it happen. And they can immediately turn off like a large segment of people to an artist's work. Like, I mean, Erykah Badu say, you know, I'm an artist, I'm sensitive about it. So yeah.
I feel you. My audience, Boys Come First, is continuing to get great reviews, so you need to buy a copy. Where can we buy Boys Come First, and also your nonfiction book about Detroit?
So they can all be purchased at beltpublishing.com. Belt is named after the Rust Belt. So they do a lot of books out of like Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Cincinnati and all these cities in the Midwest. They have all of my books. Boys Come First is the first novel that they've done, and also the first one that's kind of done outside of the Midwest. So a lot of your bookstores will have it. A lot of the independent bookstores will have it. I'm not sure if Barnes and Noble, you can get it online. I think the closer you get to Detroit, like the ones in Michigan and Ohio, those Barnes and Nobles might have it, but like a Barnes and Noble in like Florida or somewhere else probably doesn't. But a small indie bookstore, the ones that every downtown has one, they likely have it, or you can just get it off Amazon.
Cool. Well, Aaron, what appearances and projects do you have going on for the rest of this year?
I have in September, I'll be doing a discussion with Pen America in Detroit about banned books, because they're trying to ban all the LGBT books. Mine has not been banned, but I was telling somebody, I was just like, I kind of wish they would challenge my book, because if one person challenges it, that means 10 other people are going to be like, oh, why are they trying to challenge it? Let me read it.
Right.
But yeah, I'll be doing something with Pen America in September, and I'll also be moderating a discussion with, I mentioned him earlier, but Rashid Newson, another Black gay author. His book, My Government Means to Kill Me, about a Black gay man living in the 80s amidst the AIDS crisis in New York and all of that. I'll be moderating a discussion with him at the Strand in New York in late August. So those are my two immediate things. And doing a couple of podcasts too. I think I'm doing one next week. So,
well, I'm glad you hit mine first.
Yes.
So listen, give us all of your social media. How can we connect with you, follow you?
I am the same name on every platform. So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok now. All the authors got to have a TikTok, but I am Aaron K. Foley, Aaron K as in knapsack, Foley, Foley.
Great. Well, Mr. Aaron Foley, I want to thank you for stopping by. Wyatt, I mean, this has been a blast, man. And you did so well, even though you're an introvert. I'm just playing with you.
Thanks, Wyatt. This was so fun. Thank you.
Listen, thank you so much. So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page on WyattEvans.com, which is the go-to destination for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. And WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. And I say to that's good. You know what I'm saying? Now, WyattEvans.com is where you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And the latest installment is entitled Frenzy! Yeah, I said frenzy. And frenzy is just chock full of masculine romance, passion, action, intrigue, danger, and the million, zillion, gazillion just suns, all of those suns in the universe of erotic nastiness. And its predecessor is Rage, all on WyattEvans.com. And get ready for Delirium. I'll say it, Delirium. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm so excited about this. It's gonna be dropping soon. It's just so good. It's just good. It's just a delirium. All on WyattEvans.com. Now, you can follow me. Yeah. You can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, your host, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You see all that stuff, all the information on your screen. And you can contact me if you got any feedback or comments or whatever. You can drop me a line at WyattOnAir@gmail.com. So, until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof.